Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about what I read in June. June was a really good month overall, both as far as reading goes and also gaming books, as it happened to be my birthday. Obviously I will do a book haul video in a month or two's time. I read 10.5 books overall, which was a good month for me. And without further delay, I'll get straight into talking about them. Otherwise this video is going to be very long. The first book that I read was the science fiction book for my SF reading project that I'm doing, and that is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. This is the SF Masterworks edition, one of the hardbacks, and overall I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It is a classic science fiction story set on the moon about a penal colony there and the revolution that goes on. Basically it is the revolution that is planned, then undertaken, and then the aftermath of the revolution, orchestrated by a group of characters. And that's not a spoiler because it says it on the back of the book. The most notable character for me with this was Mike, the lonely computer, as I personally call him. It is a AI computer that is randomly created by accident using the colony's computer systems, and it is a brilliant character, Mike is, because despite the fact it's completely computerized, of course, it does have a personality and a true sense of wonder and interest in humans. And actually I couldn't help thinking of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation when thinking about Mike, because it has that same sense of wonder that Data has. The next book that I read was Hatchet by Gary Paulson. This is a YA book, which for me is unusual. This is about a 14-year-old boy called Brian, whose parents are just going through a divorce, and he's going from his mother's to his father's. He's travelling in a small plane above the Canadian forests, and the pilot has an heart attack, crashes, the pilot dies, Brian survives, and the only iconic thing he has to his name is, of course, the hatchet, the title of the book, and he has to survive until he hopefully gets rescued. It is a fairly simple story, actually a very simple story, but one that I really enjoyed. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I thought it's well worth reading. The third book that I read also happened to be a YA book, which is really unusual, reading 2 YA back to back, but it does happen very occasionally, and that is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is classified as a young adult science fiction dystopian, in that order, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and frankly that's not surprising for me. I've never found a young adult book that I've overly enjoyed that much, but, and this is an example of this, I do try every now and again to see if I can find a young adult book that I actually enjoy. Hasn't happened yet, maybe one day. This is an apocalyptic tale where aliens have wiped out an enormous amount of the human population on Earth, and the main character is a teenage girl called Cassie, and essentially it's her adventures in America on trying to survive, not starve, obviously not get murdered by the aliens, and nobody can trust that the person that you meet is actually a person. It could be an alien in a human form body, and obviously it could be planning to rip your head off, for instance, which is not fun for anybody. It had a few good moments in it overall, but not enough for me to actually particularly enjoy it more than that 3 stars, unfortunately. In the description box below I will do a link to a review from Paige or Enchantology, where she did a really good review for this book, and indeed the way she reviewed it echoes my thoughts exactly, and it's a really good and quite funny review actually. So have a look there if you want a good review of this. The next 3 books I read I read as part of the June Topicathon, which was created by Miriam. I will link her details and stuff in the description box, of course. The idea for the Topicathon in June was to pick any one topic that you want and then just read however many books you want about that subject and just talk about them on Twitter. My subject was a fairly easy one, as it was just sequels week, quite simply. The first sequel that I read as part of this was Castle of Wizardry by David Eddings. This is the fourth in the Bulgaria series. There's 5 of them in total. And this is a classic fantasy tale about a young boy coming of age, going across the land on a somewhat stereotypical adventure, or cliche adventure you could say. One that I personally have no issues with. And it's a good, solid book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, the same as the first 3. And indeed I will be reading the 5th one in July. Or at this point I may even have read the 5th one, for some this video is uploading in fact. And it's just a really good book. And obviously if you have read and enjoyed the first 1 or 2 books, then you won't really need any prompting from me to be wanting to read this. The second book that I read as part of my sequels week was Count Zero by William Gibson. This is a very loose sequel to Neuromancer. Count Zero is set in the same world and it has links to the first one, obviously because the event from the first affects it very slightly, but it's only a very loose sequel. And although I did enjoy it, I didn't enjoy it as much as what I enjoyed Neuromancer, and I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I would recommend this if you really enjoyed Neuromancer, then you might be interested in it. But if you haven't read Neuromancer or didn't enjoy it, then this really won't be your thing at all, frankly. The third and final sequel that I read was Nothing to Lose by Lee Child. This is the 12th in the Jack Reacher series. There are currently 20 of them, although before much longer there will be 21, as he releases them almost yearly. And this is the first Jack Reacher novel that I have given 3 out of 5 stars to on Goodreads. The other 11 have all been given 4 out of 5 stars because they were all really good, solid books. And whilst this is still a solid book, the main character, Jack Reacher, his reasons for getting involved in the events of the story were pretty weird, I thought, in comparison to the other books, and it felt pretty trivial. But it's a good, solid action thriller as well. I almost forgot to say what genre it was. The next book I read was a horror classic, and that is The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. This is the science fiction masterworks edition, as it is a story about a small town America and something weird that is found in a basement. It is a very psychological horror and one that I actually really enjoyed. I gave 4 out of 5 stars to on Goodreads, and I'm not going to say anything more about it because I actually did a review of this book 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So I will leave a link to that review in the description below, of course. The next book I read was Lunar New Moon by Ian MacDonald. I don't have a physical copy of this. It is an ebook version which I read on my Kindle, and this is an early edition that I got through NetGalley. I requested it and got approved. The first ever NetGalley book that I've got, so I was quite pleased with that. And this is a science fiction book about a very harsh environment on Luna, or the moon, oddly read in the same month as The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and indeed it does have certain elements of The Moon is a Harsh Mistress within it. The start is not easy by any means, but once you get past the first few chapters, it picks up a bit and it starts to make really interesting sense. And some of the ideas in it, some of the sort of political undertones, I found really, really interesting, and I actually gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is the first of a duology, so at some point, hopefully next year, there will be the second one released, and I'll be definitely reading it because, especially with the way it ended, and I'll be doing a video review of this as well in the next few weeks. the penultimate book I read was The Cypress House by Michael Crichton. This, despite the cover, is actually a mystery thriller with a very interesting supernatural element within it. I have always thought that this was a horror novel. My big sister bought me this for a birthday or Christmas present about 5 or 6 years ago, and because of the novel, it's a rain-swept house, and obviously the name as well, it sounds sort of spooky. I would always assumed it was horror, and it's actually not at all, although it has a vague feel to it at times, admittedly. The main character in it, Arlen Wagner, has a very odd ability where he can see if somebody is going to die in the very near future. They appear to him as skeletons, and when he's on the train one day going to a work area, he sees everybody else on the train as skeletons, including himself. Obviously this spooks him out, so he gets off the train at the next stop along with a friend of his that he's only recently made, and then they go to a local boarding house, and the plot basically goes around there. And obviously the local boarding house is of course called the Cypress House, and the ideas in it were really interesting, and the level of tension and the sense of weird unease and the unknown factor that you don't know and cannot expect what's coming next, I loved. And actually I loved this book overall. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I'll definitely be looking into more books by Michael Crichton. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. And finally, the last book that I read was The Humans by Matt Haig. This has been mentioned on various people's channels in the last 6 months or so, and it is a science fiction novel with very humorous overtones to it. An Oxford professor gets replaced by an alien, quite simply. That's not a spoiler because you find that out in the first couple of sentences. And the ideas in it and the humour are both done to an amazingly astonishing level, frankly. I can't even think of the words to describe how much I like this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I'd already decided that I was going to give it 5 out of 5 stars after about 2 chapters, which doesn't happen that often, so it's impressive. And the ideas in it in regards to what love is and what it can mean in our society, I find to be really interesting, and I actually may do a review of this because that's how much I found the ideas to be interesting. So that's it for the books I've fully read this month. The book that I've started but haven't finished yet is Little Big by John Crowley. This is a fantasy book for my SSF reading project, and although I'm kind of liking it, I'm also kind of not liking it. Frankly, I don't know my opinion on this book yet because it's an extremely odd book, and frankly it's confusing me in every way you could imagine. The plot is jumping around, and I don't know what I think of it in any sense. So I will let you know, obviously, in July's video what I actually think of it. It's got some brilliant moments, and it does have amazing writing. So you'll probably get a reasonable mark, if not necessarily a brilliant mark, however, because it is a bit peculiar at times. But we'll see how it goes. I'm that far through it now, so still got some distance to go yet. And with that said, that's it for this video, pretty much. If you've read any of these books, or indeed want to read any of them, then please let me know, and we can talk about them. I'm always interested in what other people think of the books I've read. All the links and such will be in the description box below, as they always are. And that's it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.